Hey everybody, it's Candy, aka Brown Eyed Girl 69. How y'all doing? Well, today is June the 28th of 2026, and I'm here to share some more experiences and stories of when I was homeless. I think the last story I left off was about hitchhiking, and I left off when we were in Sweetwater, Texas. Um, To catch you up, we had been hitchhiking. We got picked up by a guy in Abilene, Texas. He was in a rented U-Haul pickup truck. Daryl, my friend Venus, and her dog Kimber were in the back, and I was up in the front with the guy driving. I tried to adjust the air vent. He made a couple of comments to me to get rid of it, throw it out the window, so I did. The rest of the ride to Sweetwater was a little awkward. When he dropped us off, he went inside. They had a restaurant at this place that we got dropped off at. And he went inside and I guess was getting him some food. And me, Daryl, and Venus was just trying to find a place to set all of our gear, get out of the sun, and maybe possibly go inside and utilize the restrooms. And then take it from there. We didn't really know what our next step was going to be, honestly. Um, we just knew that we were trying to get to Taos, New Mexico. So we take care of business. They had this like little seating area on the other side of the restaurant slash convenience store slash truck stop, I guess is what it was. Um, and it was a pretty nice little seating area. It had a little picnic, not benches, but they were like cement picnic table and seats. Then there was like a little covering over each one. So we set up one of those, kind of reorganized our stuff, whatever. Started talking about towels and just, having general conversation. I think we had a little bit of weed on us, so we probably smoked some weed. I know the moon was full that night. I got some good pictures. We walked across the street on the other side of the highway, and we was able to get some really good shots of the moon. And I think that's where we were planning on. We were kind of trying to stake out a place that we were going to crash for the evening if we couldn't happen to get a ride out of there. Because it was, turning dark. And like I said, we got pictures of the full moon and everything. So I think after we took pictures of the moon, we came back and to that general area where we were. And we watched this guy pull in, and he was in a full size pickup truck, extend cab. Um, he gets out of the vehicle. He goes inside. He comes back out and he starts talking to us. Says he's headed, that he just wants to drive, but he's too drunk to drive. And that something told him that some people needed some help. And he asked us if we needed any assistance and if we were heading in any specific direction. And we said, well, we're trying to get to Taos. He goes, I can do that. And we're like, yeah, but you're too drunk to drive. He's like, one of y'all can drive. Well, Daryl didn't drive. He didn't like to drive. And Venus, she didn't want to drive. So I got to drive. So we loaded up all of our gear in the back of his pickup truck. All of us loaded up into the cab. He loaded up into the back seat with Venus and her dog. And me and Daryl was driving and riding shotgun. So uh, we were on our way. We came through past Lubbock. And then we got to, what was it? What's the name of that town that we came to? I have to look it up on my map because there was just so many places that we went. But I have everything marked on my map. Let's see what it tells us. But this is Texas. Okay, there's Sweetwater. We went up through Lubbock. Okay, and then we went up through Lubbock. And when we got to Lubbock, it was probably about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Probably more like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we drove on up to Clovis, New Mexico. And we stopped there at a Walmart and sat in the parking lot. And they were opening at, they weren't, no, they were a 24-hour Walmart. So we was able to at least go inside and buy some stuff and utilize the bathrooms. Then we came back out. I think Daryl and I can't remember what we did, but we all kind of caught some Z's. But the next morning, I think Venus was going to get some money via Western Union, or that dude was going to get some money. One of them was getting money, so we had to wait around until they got their money. Once we got our money, we were on our way. And heading up to Taos. We even got, what do you call it? Gas jug. Where we were basically getting low on gas. And even though Venus had the money, she wasn't giving it up for the gas, for whatever it was. She had something else she had to do. So we pull over to this little, like, gas store, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, because we was taking, like, the back roads instead of the main highway. And we pulled in, and he basically went in and asked the lady if, she could spare a few dollars for some gas in the tank. And then when he came out, somebody else had pulled in and had heard what we were talking about and said they'd fill up our tank. We're like, really? And he's like, yep, start it right now, and I'll go in there and tell her just to keep it going. So we was able to get a full tank of gas, and we was off. And we had to go to this place called Esperanza. But he dropped us off in Santa Fe. Then we caught this little bus called the Blue Bus up to this other little town called Esperanza. And that's where our friend Venus's friend Noah was going to meet us in his car, which was like a Forester Subaru or something like that, and pick us up. And he wasn't just picking us up, he was picking up one other person, I think, that was going to be a visitor to his place. And they were, I think, from some other country, Australia maybe. Anyway, we picked them up. So the car was pretty packed, but we made it up there to Taos. And the adventure began. But basically, as soon as it began, it was ending because Noah was a free-wielding gunslinger as far as he just liked to wave his guns around. And that made Daryl very nervous. Two, we were out in the boonies. We were so far out that if we wanted to go to town to get anything, it had to be on a specific day. There just wasn't really any opportunity for us being that far out in Taos. Yeah, we got to sleep in a little hippie school bus kind of thing. And that was one of my ultimate, I guess, bucket list wish, was to be able to say I lived in one, or at least got to sleep in one for a few nights. We got to see the Earth ships. That was something else that we was interested in looking at. And we actually met somebody that was renting one and let us come out and tour their Earth ship. And it was pretty cool. pretty expensive, but really, really cool. And then and Daryl even went with Noah up to Trinidad, Colorado, and flew a sign one day for, I mean, like a whole weekend. And when he came back, I thought he was going to have, at least a few bucks in his pocket. Noah didn't give him nothing. Only thing Noah gave us was he bought us a pound of tobacco, enough rolling papers, and I think he got us a quarter of weed. All for that, for Daryl going and wasting like 2 days up there with Noah. Once we realized that that was the case, Daryl's like, we're gone, we're out of here. So we packed our stuff and let everybody know that we're out of here. Said our goodbyes to Venus, thanked her for getting us as far as she did, and made our best wishes to her on the rest of her journey. So here we are in Taos, New Mexico. Okay, so we leave Noah's. It was kind of funny because we're having to try to hitchhike back into Taos so we could catch that blue bus back into Santa Fe, and then we were going to take it from there. One of the people that picked us up was a couple days prior to us leaving. Some people had come out to Noah's place, one of Noah's friends. I think to get some weed or smoke some weed or sell some weed or something. I don't know. It has something to do with weed. And we got to meet him, and he had this like really cool little dog, and uh, we were standing out on the highway hitchhiking, and this van rolled by us, and the guy jumped out, and we're like, "Oh my god!" And he started running to us. He says, "Come on, let's go. We're going to town. Don't need a ride home." We're like, "Yeah." And I think he thought we were just hitching to get to town. And he's like, "Hey man, we got some errands and stuff to run, but we can give you a ride back out here whenever y'all ready." We're like, "No, no, we're not coming back, man. We're hitching. We're leaving. We're going into town so we can try to get to Santa Fe." And he's like, "We know the perfect spot to drop you at, to where you can pick up the blue bus, and it's gonna drop you. It's gonna stop right in front of you." So we're like, "Cool." And then he's like, "Hey man, y'all want to smoke some bud?" We're like, "Sure." So he smoked some bud with us. He even gave us a big old fat bud for our journeys. So that was pretty cool. Then we got the blue bus, went to Santa Fe. That night, we realized it was too late. We weren't going to be able to do anything. So we found a place to crash, which we actually slept in this dugout at a baseball field because it was covered. And there was like a door on it and a fencing kind of in front of it, I guess, to protect the players from flying baseballs. So it was kind of cool. So we crashed in there and got up the next day and found out the ticket prices to get to Santa Fe. Blue bus was free, but we wanted to get further than that. We wanted to get all the way down to Albuquerque. Well, they had a train, and it was like $16 per person, I think, to make the train or to get the train to Albuquerque. Um, we didn't have that kind of cash, so that day we got up, we went to like a shopping center, and that's when Daryl sat out and played his little guitar, played his guitar. Um, he didn't have an amp yet. Did we have an amp yet? No, we didn't even have an amp yet. Yeah, we didn't even have an amp yet, so I don't think he might have played his harp, but we did something to draw attention to us, to where people would come over and talk to us and donate to us. Well, anyway, we was able to raise about oh probably $20, I think it was. So that definitely wasn't going to be enough for us to get on the bus, but we went ahead and went back, or train. So we went ahead and went back. Um, Ran into somebody on the way back to the train station, and they gave us some money. So we had enough money Then somebody said, you know what? You ought to save that money, get on the blue bus. The blue bus isn't going to take you all the way down to Albuquerque, but it'll take you a little uh, east of there. But it's a free ride, and you'll have that money in your pocket. So we said, sure enough, that's what we did. We hopped on that little blue bus and got a ride all the way down to this town just outside of Albuquerque, like they told us. And we spent the night there behind our community center underneath the playground setup. And then the next morning, we got up, we walked down to the convenience store to get some coffee. Where are we? The name of this little place was in between Moriarty and Cedillo. Edgewood. Edgewood was the name of that little place we went. Ran into a father and his son while we was getting our coffee, and they threw us $20. So we had more money in our pocket. So then we walked down the street to the McDonald's and got us some breakfast. Then we came back out and started hitchhiking. And eventually this man picked us up. He was middle-aged. He wasn't too old, but he wasn't too young. And he drove us into Albuquerque. And before we got out of his truck, he gave us a winning lottery ticket, which was, I think it was around $10. And then he gave us like 50 or 60 bucks in cash. Peace out. Good luck. So then we got to the library in Albuquerque, and I started doing some research, and I happened to get a message from Daryl's cousin that he wanted to send us some money. And so he sent us 75 bucks. And that was pretty amazing. So then we had well, at this point in time, we had well over 100 bucks. I mean, like probably close to about 150, 160 bucks. So after all the money that people have been giving us and us earning, so we was able to get us a decent hotel room for the night. Next day, we hit the highway to try to hitchhike, and we had gotten a ride out of Albuquerque like that. Um, then we got dropped off in Grant, which is just outside of Albuquerque, and we were hitchhiking there, and an Indian couple picked us up. An Indian couple that had 4 children. In the age ranges of the baby all the way up to the age of 12. 3 girls and a boy. Boy being the oldest. They stopped at McDonald's because I guess that's where they were headed, and we just rode along with them. They said they'd buy us some food, so we're like, okay. So we go inside the McDonald's. They're sitting there talking, discussing, and they said, well, we don't have a lot. We live on the reservation. We do have electricity, but we don't have running water. We do have a little shed. We're jewelry makers, so that's kind of where we do our jewelry making stuff, in that shed. But if y'all like, y'all can sleep in the back of the pickup truck tonight. We got extra blankets. We can bring you out, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, okay, cool. So we decide we're going to do this. So we go to their home. And when we arrived there, they basically said that they had discussed giving us a little bit better conditions So they emptied out their little shed where they had a couple of tools that they used for jewelry making and set it right out there on the side. They brought a mattress out there. They brought out a little heater, and it had a light in there. And even brought us a little radio, I think, or the radio was already out there. And they said we could sleep there for the night. They showed us where the outhouse was. They basically told us that they had dogs on the property, which we met, and that they even gave us a flashlight and said, "Here's a flashlight to use in the middle of the night if you have to get up and go to the bathroom. One of the dogs more than likely will accompany you. Don't let that bother you. That's what they do. We've trained them to accompany us to the bathroom because there are skinwalkers out here on the reservation." We were like, "What?" But we didn't, see anything or hear anything or have any kind of experiences with any of that, so it was cool. Um, we stayed with them for a couple of days, and then we made our way onward. But while we were there, they picked us up. We went and spent the night with them that night. The next day, they had things they needed to do, but they asked us if we would be willing to pick up a lot of cans that's thrown around on their property and put them in this one specific location. And if we would do that for them while they were gone, um, he would bring a surprise back for Daryl and I. So we're like, cool. So Daryl and I started picking up all these different cans. They were soda cans, beer cans, just all sorts of empty cans all over the property. And there was this broken down truck that had a bed full of cans. So we basically walked around with this like wheelbarrow, put all the empty cans in there, and then we went and put all those cans into that bigger broken down truck bed. In the middle of all this, I guess Daryl's lighter died. And we couldn't light a cigarette. And we even looked everywhere on the property. They'd locked up the house, but he had a couple of vehicles on the property that were unlocked. And so we even were like looking in the vehicles to see um, if there was anything in these broken down vehicles, like a lighter of any sort. Nothing. Couldn't find nothing. Like, shit. Well, now we ain't got no way to smoke no weed, and we ain't got no way to smoke no cigarettes. And we didn't know what time they were going to be back. Then Daryl thought about it. He didn't have a magnifying glass with a handle, but he had a magnifying piece of glass without a handle. So what he did, it was really sunny out that day too. Went out, found a place to get the sun, put the cigarette right there, the lid lights up, you're good to go. Just make sure you keep that cherry going. So yeah, we started fire, and we got fire because Daryl had a magnifying glass. I think that was the point of my video because I told one of my other friends, Dead Wolf Resistance, that I was going to make a video and talk about fire. Also was in his live the other night, last night, and we were talking about fire. And old lighters, Zippos. One person mentioned they even had a lighter that took kerosene or something like that. And it made me think of my dad's old lighter, which my dad had a tabletop lighter That is a picture of me when I was little. I was a ballerina. Here's a picture of me when I was 5 years old, I think it was. And then there's a picture of me when I was a little baby. I was holding my head. I had a baby doll in my hand. I don't know what all was going on there. Oh, and then here is like the inner workings of the lighter. It's kind of cool. Used to hit it. It says it's a piezo electric table gas lighter. This used to work at one time. My dad had it sitting around, and you need to light a cigarette, you just hit it, and flame would come out. Kind of cool that I have that memory, that memento, Even though it doesn't work, but it probably would work if I was able to find the right fuel that would fuel it. It's 10 till 9 here. I'm tired. I didn't get much sleep last night. It was very short, and it was interrupted. And I had to be at work at 11, and I worked 11 to 4. And I did plan on going out and trying to grub up tonight, but I just didn't have the energy. Didn't have the energy because I didn't get enough rest last night. So I was just like, nah, I'll just take, I already put in my work for the day. It was only 5 hours, but I made my money. So I decided to come home and just chill and chillax, and that's what I've been doing. Basically, make coffee, doing a little bit of puff passing over here, and decided I'd make a video. So that's basically it as far as like hitchhiking from Sweetwater, Texas, all the way up to Taos to Albuquerque to Gallup, New Mexico. And that is where this one will end, and the next one will begin. Peace, love, hugs, Nuggs, all that good stuff. Until the next time, I'm out.